Okay, so we're back in part 2 of the VR6 S10 updates. So now that the engine's out and I've been pretty much overhauling everything, we went from the manifold and the turbo in the first part. We're now entering the phase of coolant. So as you can see, this is the housing and the water pipe that I run. This housing is a Mark IV VR6 12 valve. I believe it's probably going to be the same even for a 24 valve, but this is the Mark IV housing. It actually has the one water pipe that comes out the front, so if this were at the front of the engine, it comes facing forward. The other one also kind of off of a 45 to the front piece, and then the heater hose here, and then the lower thermostat housing, well, as you can see, is here. So this particular pipe I've never been fond of because this lower thermostat housing, I actually cut it. So if you get a new one, let's say it has a big barb on it like that, this particular one on the truck does not. It's cut short to be able to clear where the firewall is. So that being said, it's worked for the last 5 years. I haven't had any leaks. And then the coolant pipes both went in parallel kind of down the driver's side into the radiator. But I was just never, this was kind of like it worked, but I wasn't fond of it just because it was always really tight to the firewall. If you have to do anything on the housing and try and take it off, you really don't have any room. So ultimately I was always seeking like a different solution when it came to time when I was actually removing the engine and overhauling stuff. So I did some digging. I looked at a Touareg 3.2 VR6, and I was like, oh man, this is great because the Touareg, you can see this is a Touareg housing. So it still has like the Mark IV outlet in the front. It has the heater hose right here in the same angle and everything as the Mark IV like GTI Jetta one, but it has the lower thermostat housing is actually pointed back to avoid this pipe situation here. So then I bought this thinking like, okay, this is going to work. And then I also bought the Touareg coolant pipe, which you can see goes down the block and it actually bolts. There's a bolt hole location even in the 12 valve engine where that pipe can connect. So I was thinking like, oh, this is going to be great. It'll be really close to OE, and I'll use as much OE parts as possible. So I go to put the housing on. Unfortunately, this bolt here for the timing cover, the lower timing cover, as well as the vertical bolt that connects both timing covers, that housing hits both of these. So I can't get the housing, especially the lower part, in all the way without hitting these. So unfortunately, I have all this Touareg stuff, and now I really can't use it. So in further doing some research and thinking about this another step, what I ended up doing more recently is I bought a Mark IV aluminum top, and I bought a Mark III aluminum bottom. So the bottom actually comes out around here. So it's not as close, obviously, for the timing cover. Sorry, this tag. It's not as close to the timing cover, but it does come out in this vicinity. If you guys recall, the Mark III stuff kind of points back. So even the lower heater hose actually points back, and it kind of loops back around and goes forward. So I recently bought that. I'm waiting for it to get shipped. I'm hoping that it's not on back order because it seems like a lot of things are at this point. Especially for the Mark III stuff, it's becoming more and more scarce to get the Mark III housings and just Mark III parts in general. So anyway, I think with that lower thermostat housing cover with the Mark IV upper, I should get everything in the right spot, and I should be able to use this Touareg pipe. And you can kind of see, if this tag wasn't in the way, hold on. You can see where this thing wants to be. I think it's going to be maybe a little bit back And even if I have to get a different rubber hose here to bring it where I need it, even if it's like a 90 or something to end up mating this up, I think this is going to work out really well. It's going to get the coolant down where I need it. It'll break this up a little bit. So I'll have the upper hose on this side, the lower hose on this side, and I'll do some mating to the radiator. But I bought a new hose here, so I'm going to be redoing this heater hose to kind of again keep it with the block, but also kind of keep it more so away from the exhaust pipe as it comes down, and just to make it, you know, a little bit easier. I'll say more room to work on it. If I don't know if many people have seen the pictures, but this pipe here that I have in my hand was the old pipe. So you can kind of see this pipe I made to come around and then go into the heater core over there. So there's not necessarily anything wrong with this, but again, where the vicinity of the exhaust is, it's really close. So I'm going to try and bring this back over here, more so than just go forward and over, and keep it closer to the heater box and more away from the exhaust. So I'll end up redoing some of these coolant pipes, which isn't a major deal, but you know, again, it's just little stuff that bothered me as only I knew about it, but still in all, it was bothersome enough that I wanted to obviously fix it. So that's part one. So we are on the truck side now. I went a little crazy, and again, I did my fan setup, but I used to have a single fan, and I used to have a Griffin radiator that I bought that was pretty expensive. So I actually measured everything out, and I again should have done this from the beginning, but I used a Mark III VR6 radiator, so I bought an aluminum one. That's coming. I used the Mark III VR6 fan shroud. I cut the old fan like metal pieces out of it and bolted in these Derail high performance or high HO fans. They're like 2100 CFM each, and when I plug this thing in, it throws air in here like crazy. So this is exactly what I wanted it to do, so I'm really happy about that, and I really think this is going to solve some of the cooling problems, or actually just excessive temperature, especially on the highway. I'll be able to really get some airflow through there, and with the fans, it's gonna be killer. So I did that. Mounted the intercooler on the outside. I have a little bit of work to do, like with getting the tubing through. I have to cut this out, and then once the engine's back in and stuff, I'll mock up the rest of the tubing for the intercooler and all that fun jazz.